Hello all, so I'm Nishan. I have come up with a new video, in fact my very first video regarding pathology. So before getting into the video, I would request you two things. Don't forget to wear your headsets because it will give you a better experience of your voice, actually nagging noise. And don't forget to turn on your subtitles. So without wasting much time, let's get into the topic. So today's topic is inflammatory bowel disease. In spite of these modern techniques and advanced science opportunities, many of the diseases are idiopathic in origin. You know what is idiopathic? That is something, a disease which does not has an absolute cause. So similarly, this idiopathic inflammatory bowel disease does not seem to contain a so absolute cause. So everyone knows this idiopathic inflammatory bowel disease has two diseases in turn. One is Crohn's disease, another one is ulcerative colitis. So the basic theme of this video is to find the basic differences between these two entities. So before knowing the entities, let's know the basic structure of these diseases. So what is Crohn's disease? So Crohn's disease is a granulomatous inflammatory disorder. So the name has been derived from a gastroenterologist, Berlin Bernard Crohn, who first discovered this inflammatory bowel disease. And it can affect any given part of your GIT. And ulcerative colitis is a non-granulomatous inflammatory disorder which can also affect any given part of your GIT, but most commonly it affects the colon. So the name ulcerative colitis has been given. Now let's have a look at quick pathogenesis. We know that this disease is idiopathic, but we can rule out pathogenesis. There are two basic factors for this pathogenesis. One is genetic predisposition and another one is abnormal immune host response. So both together causes this IBD. The different features of this Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis can be divided into three topics. That is macroscopic, microscopic, and clinical difference. So what are the differences? First, let us see what are the macroscopic differences between the Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. The very first thing is bowel region. Which bowel region is being affected? In Crohn's disease, in the intrapart itself, we saw it can affect any given part of your GIT, but most commonly it affects ileum and colon. What is colon? Colon is your large intestine and ileum is your small intestine. That is, the Crohn's disease can affect both the small intestine and the large intestine, whereas the ulcerative colitis will mostly affect only your colons, that is your large intestines. The second thing is distribution. How the lesions or distribution in the in the intestines. That is, in Crohn's disease there are skip lesions, which are the very characteristic feature of the Crohn's disease, whereas in colon there are diffuse lesions. So what is diffuse lesions? The lesions are in serpentine fashion, which is distributed all along the colon. And next thing is stricture formation. What is the stricture? A narrowing in a tube, a narrowing in your bodily tube. So the stricture formation is is variable in Crohn's disease, but the ulcerative colitis, the stricture formation is rare. What do you mean by variable? It can or cannot form, whereas in ulcerative colitis the stricture formation is a rare entity. And wall appearance. So what's the appearance of the wall? What's the appearance of the affected wall? In Crohn's disease there is thickening of the wall, whereas in ulcerative disease there this thinning of that wall. And dilatation. In Crohn's disease there is no dilatation, whereas in ulcerative colitis there will be dilatation of your colon. So the next difference between the Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis is in the microscopic feature. So the very first feature is pseudopolyp formation. So what is a pseudopolyp? See, it is something, a result of regenerative capacity of our bowels. God has bestowed us with a regenerative capacity in our bowels. So our body takes a chance, tries to make the affected bowels back to form, but it cannot make it back to form completely. But the result of that that attempt to cure the disease is pseudopolyp formation. In Crohn's disease there is a marked pseudopolyp formation, that too in your colons, whereas in ulcerative colitis also there is a marked pseudopolyp formation. Next is ulcers. See, in Crohn's disease the ulcers are very deep. Okay, whereas in ulcerative colitis the ulcers are superficial. Why? The Crohn's disease affects all the three layers of your bowel. All the three layers means the muscularis propria, the serosal surface, the mucosal surface. All the three layers are spared in this Crohn's disease, whereas in ulcerative colitis it affects only superficial areas. Then what's the lymphoid reaction? So just now I said all the three layers are being affected, so the lymphoid reaction will also be marked in your Crohn's disease, whereas in ulcerative colitis there will be mild lymphoid reaction. And what about fibrosis. See, fibrosis is the ultimate product of inflammation. So when inflammation is more, there will be more fibrosis. So in Crohn's disease, there is marked inflammation, so the fibrosis is also marked. Whereas in ulcerative colitis, there is mild fibrosis. Then serositis. So serosal surface is found deep into the layer of your bowels, which means the serositis will be more marked in your Crohn's disease, whereas it will be very mild, or there will be no serositis in your ulcerative colitis. And next then is granuloma. In the introduction itself, we saw ulcerative colitis is a non-granulomatous disease, whereas your Crohn's disease is a granulomatous disease. So this is the basic difference. And the one is fistula or sinus formation. See, in comparison, the Crohn's disease seems to be more serious. Yeah. So the fistula or sinus formation will be common in your Crohn's disease, but not in your ulcerative colitis. So another thing is clinical difference, which is very significant in your practice. See, by using the above knowledge itself, you can write this. First one is fat or vitamin malabsorption, where it will be common. Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, yeah, it will be very common in Crohn's disease, because Crohn's disease also affects your ileum. Ileum is small intestine where the food particles are being absorbed. So the malabsorption will be common in your Crohn's disease, but not in your ulcerative colitis. Another thing is malignant potential, that is, which of the following can be more prone to a malignancy? So definitely both the disease will definitely, get complicated into a malignant feature, that is your cancer. And response to surgery, the Crohn's disease has a fair response, a not bad kind of response, whereas the ulcerative colitis has a good response to surgery. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I'm happy. Let's learn together.